All 50 states are now in some phase of phase one in opening, but Republicans in the Minnesota legislature are pushing back against ongoing restrictions on churches. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz's current COVID-19 executive order allows retailers to operate at 50% capacity beginning June 1 and allows bars and restaurants to serve customers outdoors, while barbers and salons can operate indoors at partial capacity if patrons wear masks. However, churches have not been given the green light, still being required to cap worship services at 10 people. The governor saying there won't be any changes for churches until phase 2. The Minnesota Catholic Church Conference and the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod sent the governor letters announcing that they would be resuming worship services on May 26th, despite his restrictions. The Becket Fund for Religious Liberty sent Governor Walz and Attorney General Keith Ellison a legal letter explaining why continuing to keep churches closed violates the First Amendment. Attorney Diana Verma with Becket joins us now for more. Diana, I'm curious, what is the governor's rationale behind keeping churches locked down until phase 2?
Well, I just want to say that these churches have been, throughout this crisis, they have been trying to work with the governor, and they have been working hard to love their neighbors and to prevent the spread of this disease. They reached out to the governor multiple times with protocols that they have in place to reopen safely. The governor is saying churches are at the end of the line, and he hasn't offered a strong argument for why retail, like the Mall of America, can reopen at 50% capacity, but churches are stuck at 10% in-person services indefinitely.
Are the churches that plan on opening despite restrictions planning on abiding by phase 1 guidelines, or do they have plans to open in full capacity?
The governor has asked groups to submit protocols for reopening. And so since retail is at 50%, the churches have proposed that they open at 33%. They've proposed strict protocols for cleaning, for social distancing, for making sure people aren't touching the same thing, so that they've submitted their protocols to the governor and told him exactly what they plan to do.
Why are we seeing some states restrict worship while others are allowing churches to begin resuming operations? What's the difference state by state?
Most states actually are allowing churches to resume, and different states are doing it differently. Some states are saying, well, we're not ready yet, so they're keeping everyone equal. So they're allowing retail to open along at the same time as churches. Minnesota has to explain why they're doing it differently. They have to be able to explain why it's different in Minnesota than it is in, say, Michigan, where churches are allowed to operate. So Minnesota is the odd one out here.
Explain to us real quickly more about how this violates First Amendment rights.
Sure. Well, the First Amendment does not have a pandemic exception, so the government has to follow the First Amendment even in a time of crisis. And this is a situation where if the government is treating retail and non-essential businesses one way, they have to have a really good argument based in science for why they can't treat churches the same way. And we haven't seen that yet.
Diana, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Diana Verma with the Becket Fund. Thanks for coming